go to his camera thing, and he does 3 dots. Should say pin video. There it is.
Okay, cool. All right.
Gotta love
Okay,
that
all
technology.
right. Okay, we got it.
Okay. Well, so good morning. Can we see your class? How many do we have in there today?
2, 4. We got 2, 4, 6 in class, and I have 2 online that's
Okay.
joining.
Well, good. Well, good morning, everybody. And Miss Fleming, I'm going to record this session so that I can email it to you so you can share it with your other classes. I'll send you a link.
Okay,
If
great.
you'd like to share that, because a lot of the information will be repeated. But my name is Dwight Downey. I'm the chair of the graphics program at Lenoir Community College. We have 2 programs in our department. One of them is advertising and graphic design, and the other program is graphic arts and imaging technology. I'm joined this morning by our other faculty member, Dr. Hope Carroll. She and I kind of handle the bulk of the teaching load, teaching everything from graphic design, computer graphics, all the way through different printing production classes, web design, you name it, we kind of get in. If it has anything to do with graphic design and communication, whether it's web development or print design or packaging design, we kind of get into that. So our plan this morning is kind of give you a little bit of background, a little more background about what we do, as well as sharing student samples with you. We've got quite a few samples that we've accumulated this year. It's certainly been very challenging with the COVID stuff going on to try and allow our students to continue their educational journey. So we've created a lot of blended content, meaning pushed a lot of content online like you probably have experienced in high school. And so our students, most of them can work remotely on the computer graphics side of things, but then eventually they've got to come in and output finished product. And you'll see these finished products here in a second. And so that's kind of how this stuff gets produced. So they'll come in as needed. Hopefully we'll be back to normal come fall semester, to where students will be in here working on their projects every day. But our program is one of 3 graphic arts programs in the state. There are probably around 30 graphic design programs across the state. But what separates us from a lot of these programs is the fact that our students take projects from design concept all the way through finished product, and you're going to see some of that. So this is some specialized training right here in your backyard. We're just a short commute away from Winterville. So we certainly would love to have you if you want to come and tour the facility firsthand. Ms. Fleming will have my contact information, so reach out through her. She knows how to get a hold of me, and we can set up something for you to come and visit the facility, and we can sit down and talk about how to get registered and a little bit more detailed as far as classes are concerned. So I'm going to talk briefly a little bit about the graphic arts program, then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Carroll and let her talk about graphic design. But in a nutshell, the graphic arts program provides students with the training to enter the printing, publishing, and packaging industry. So it's very hands-on, production oriented, where our students are operating lots of different equipment. They're getting a taste of graphic design. They've got several computer graphics classes that they get under their belt. They have a photography class that is required. We get into 3 or 4 different kinds of printing processes that are out there, with digital, wide format, offset printing, and screen printing. And these are all commercial processes that are still being used today. And you'll see as we tour the lab here in a little bit that this equipment is rather specialized. It's very expensive. That's why there's not many of these programs across the state. So that it's something that you just can't decide to fire up and start running tomorrow, because there's so much equipment and collateral equipment that you've got to have. There's all kinds of specialized software. So what class are you guys learning about Adobe software right now?
Yes,
Can somebody
Adobe Digital.
say again?
Adobe Digital.
So which software packages of the Adobe Digital program are you using? Are you using InDesign, Photoshop?
No, Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver. So you guys are getting into web development.
Yes.
And so we teach those classes in a little bit different style where we're using that Adobe XD. Have you explored that one yet?
No, sir.
Yeah, so that one's really more with deals with what we refer to as UX and UI design. And so we're talking about user interface and user experience. These are becoming kind of hot topics in the industry where they're looking for people to be able to design the interfaces as well as how they interact with that interface. But it's a whole other subject area. Dreamweaver is a great foundation. To me, it's a little bit, it's quite complex where, you know, the things that you can get into with Dreamweaver, and we used to teach that as well. But we primarily teach Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator, as well as Acrobat. And like I said, we're getting into Adobe XD. Within our packaging classes, we get into Adobe Dimension, which is their 3D prototyping software. And so students get into that as well. But I'm going to ask Dr. Carroll to say a few words about the advertising and graphic design program. It's a fairly new program for us. There is one located at Pitt Community College, but we feel like when you see the equipment and the facilities that we have, we've got a unique advantage over similar programs in the state. So Dr. Carroll.
Okay. So hey there, I am Hope Carroll, and I teach a lot of the kind of beginning classes that deal with design, graphic design. And so just to give you kind of an overview of what students are learning in the advertising and graphic design program, we go through all the phases of graphic design. So you'll start kind of base level and you learn how to kind of sketch things out and do a lot of brainstorming, creative brainstorming before we actually move to the computer. And so once we do move into the computer programs, like Mr. Downey was saying, we teach primarily Adobe InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. And so the classes that you take kind of combine those programs so that you know how to work kind of in and out of them, and you understand how they work together. And so a lot of my students are designing things. You'll see examples in a minute, but they're designing things like greeting cards, packaging design. We actually also, we've introduced just this year Adobe After Effects. So if you're interested in motion graphics, we're getting into that as well. We have a new class that's being offered in the fall called New Media Design Communication. And so that class will have a huge focus on more animation and motion design. And so we have students that are working on projects in After Effects right now. So a little bit more about advertising graphic design. There is a lot of overlap with the graphic arts program. And so even though there's a stronger focus on graphic design, the students still learn how to take those projects all the way through to production. And so even though students are brainstorming and sketching out ideas maybe for a package design, they're also taking those ideas and then creating them in Illustrator, InDesign, and then they're creating them to the point that they're production ready. And so the students have to make sure that it doesn't just look good in the software, right? It actually has to be printable. And so we're very unique. Our program is very unique, and we remind students that all the time, that we're so glad that they found us. We're so glad that they can gain both skills in design and production, because it is really important. Once you get out there and you're looking for a career, a lot of agencies, a lot of shops want to know, can you take this through to production? Do you understand what it takes to design this so that it is print ready? Because you don't want to, you don't want printers coming back and charging your clients a lot of money because you designed something that's not production ready. And so we do make sure that students understand that. So you want me to go ahead and flip the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to flip the camera. What was it? Shift, Command N. There we go. All right, you're there.
So hey guys, so I'm going to let Dr. Carroll kind of shoot the camera this way. I'm not sure if you can see this is some different technology for us in working with these the multiple cameras with Zoom, but we have an array of different samples that our students have produced over the past year. So we get into things like calendars, where they're involved with producing this with using a combination of Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. You can see these are finished products all the way down to the binding. So students again carry projects through the final stages. She talked about greeting cards. This one is a little bit unique, and it actually has a die cut. This is actually cut out. You can see it a little bit here. where we can get into die cut production. We have equipment that allows students to design things like this that have unique cutouts in them. And so that adds to the kind of the readership or the viewership of the person seeing it. We have done tent cards. You can see these in restaurants and things like that. Different like ornaments, little paper ornaments here, just to kind of show that as far as how to do production on things like that. Again, more greeting cards. We get into different postcards, postcard series. We get into what we refer to as variable data, where you can have customized data on our postcards or any published piece. We get into packaging design. This is called a little pillow box. And again, we get into 3D packaging design. This is another example of a 3D package that our students had to design. So what's kind of unique about these projects that I'm holding here with packaging is that I bring in the cookies. The students have to set these up in the photo studio, take pictures, prep them inside of Photoshop, get them inside of InDesign or Illustrator, do the layout, do the design working, get it all put together. And again, the design is just one piece of it. And trying to emphasize production, you'll see those pieces as we move through. This is kind of a unique piece that one of our students came up with. It's a kind of an interactive piece. As you open, you see that it opens on both sides. This recently won the Top Collegiate Award through our annual PICA awards competition where we compete with schools from North and South Carolina, with community colleges and universities across North and South Carolina. So Appalachian State, Clemson University, North Carolina A&T, Chowan University, all those schools that have graphics programs submit pieces, and they eventually pick a top winner. And this is the third year in a row that we won. Dr. Carroll and her students have won this award three years in a row. So I think they're tired of seeing us, but this was the award-winning piece here. And so the student had to come up with this design and figure out how to make it interactive to make it work. This is kind of one from last year where there's a little pop-up box, and this box will pop out at you and it creates this little cube. So think about what's involved in designing that. That can be quite complex, and of course having the rest of the content in there as well. So you can see that our students get into a lot of different types of projects. Simple coffee mugs, dye sublimation, personalized printing is big business. We get into screen printing technology. These are a couple of samples of different screen printing pieces. Kind of down the road here, this was a project that we implemented just about finished this year, where the students had to come up with, we gave them 3 different scenarios of different lines of products. So they could come up, there was a bottled water, a microbrew, and there was a few fruit infused water that nobody picked, but most of them did this kind of microbrew. So they had to design the manufacturer logo. In this case, it's called Vertical Ale. And then they had to design the product logo called Phantom IPA. So they came up with the label. They came up with the entire concept. We went down and produced a bottle carrier. We've done what we refer to as a point of purchase display that you might see in the store. And I'm just going to let Dr. Carroll kind of pan through these. These are other samples. This is a bottled water product. Again, so we gave them the content in terms of the company name. They had to develop everything else from the ground up. And we're very proud of the work that our students have done. And there's a lot of hard work in some of this stuff. But you can see this is quite unique in terms of being able to produce finished products. So what we did was we prototyped this in Adobe Dimension, which is our 3D prototyping software, to come up with a concept. And then once we came up with the concept and approved the concept, then we went through actual production. So to produce a prototype. So we had a digital prototype done in Dimension. Then we went through and used Photoshop and Illustrator to develop everything else. Just kind of pan over here. We're going to go ahead and start our tour. Since this is one of the areas, we've got a photo studio. So we get into product photography, headshots, small group shots. We've got multiple backgrounds that we can switch out. We get into video. We've got video lighting, video cameras that we can use as well. So just kind of be patient. We're going to kind of motor on through. I'm not sure, this is one of the Mac labs that we have here. We have 2 Mac labs equipped with Adobe Creative Cloud software. And we're going to kind of make it through our production facility. So we're fairly new to this space. We just moved in here last summer. So we're tickled to death to be in this new space for us.
Sorry, a little bump
Okay,
there.
it's a little bumpy. We're just, hold on. So we'll kind of start right here. This is one of the pieces of equipment. This is a wide format inkjet printer capable of printing onto a variety of media in terms of outdoor banner material, vehicle graphics, paper, different polyester material for like banners. A lot of the banners that you'll see around in the lab throughout the tour were produced on this. This materials can last outdoors 3 to 5 years, depending on how much sunlight and weather it is involved in. But everything that you see our students get their hands on in terms of outputting finished product. We'll kind of come around here. So some of this is what we refer to as supplemental equipment that you need for offset printing. This is a plate setter, about $100,000 machine that basically prints onto metal, onto a metal plate, flexible metal plate that we can mount onto a printing press. And you'll see that printing press here in a second. One of the printing technologies that we work with is screen printing. And Dr. Carroll had a job set up here from the other day. So screen printing is a very popular class with our students, very popular production process because they get to print t-shirts and they get to, it's very hands-on. As you'll see, what you're doing, it doesn't really matter. I think you're doing white, green first. What you were doing?
Yep, green first.
So with screen printing, it utilizes a squeegee. That's what this is. And this, you can see the ink kind of dripping off of there. It's a stencil-based process where we push the ink through the stencil and get some ink on there. And then it transfers through the stencil down onto the shirt. And this is a 2-color job, so you got a screen for each color.
Hold on, it went black, Dwight. What did I do?
Oh, you just moved that. I'm sorry. Dr. Carroll closed this off.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Are you good?
Yep.
Okay, so it's so this is a 2-color project, so you got to have a screen for each color. So we're printing white and green. And again, this is something that our students get to see. Okay, you can see kind of, this is just a test shirt we're just practicing on. This isn't actual. These were ended up printed on a black shirt. But very quickly, we printed something. We would put this through our dryer because this ink has to be heat cured in order for it to dry quickly. Over here is our offset press. That's what I was talking about earlier, where we take the metal plates made from our plate setter, mount it onto this machine. This machine would be used for printing on like business cards, postcards, brochures, any kind of fairly thin, flat, rectangular media. So all kinds of paper, well, up to about a 13 by 19 sheet. Over here is our cutting table. And it's the cutting table is nothing more than a giant cutting robot. And so we've got different software that we would have to, that this computer would load software on here, load the file on here, and it controls and drives this cutting table. And basically have a head unit on it. And it has different tools that we would load in here depending on what we were doing. This is a creasing tool used for scoring or creasing like cardboard and things like that. So this is what we would use. Those cookie boxes that I showed you a little while ago, where we're printing those and outputting those and assembling those, it would be cut on the machine like this. So the cutting blade would be loaded in here. This is just a razor blade, and you have different tools for different whatever media you're trying to cut out. So we've got our technician here working on one of our pieces of equipment, so we can't show that. It's our digital press kind of back there in the corner, and that allows us to produce Again, very similar to offset printing, but allows us to do full color, high quality, fairly quickly on a variety of stocks. But we're going to kind of make it back over into the lab, and we'll kind of follow up if we have any questions. Okay.
He's walking too fast for me.
Sorry.
Okay. Shift command. There we go.
So that's quite a bit of information. We'll go ahead and kind of stop back where we started. That's quite a bit of information. What questions do you have for us? Hopefully you have something. Where do you go to work? You can go to work at graphic design agencies, ad agencies, commercial printing companies. You can go to work to photography studios. I mean, I'm always amazed at where our students find employment, because if you think about the amount of graphic design that's in front of you every day, down to what you see on your phone in terms of different interfaces, somebody had to design what that looks like. So that's what we were talking about earlier with user interface design, user experience design. More and more things, you know, we're communicating through our phones, and so they need people that have those kinds of skills, those graphic design skills, to be able to generate this artwork. So again, we cover everything from, you know, print design all the way through screen design. So it's quite challenging. So if you like art, you like computers, you like working with your hands, you kind of like what you saw today, certainly reach out to us through Ms. Fleming. Let us know if we can provide any more information. I've got lots of things that we'd like to share with you as far as printed publications. We sent some of those to Ms. Fleming already. So get with her if you'd like to read about some more information, or reach out to us to kind of set up a tour, or figure out how to get through admissions, or what have you. Ms. Fleming, do you have any questions?
No? Anybody? Okay, I got one question.
Okay.
What is the salary range?
It really depends on what you get into, and where do you end up, where do you want to live. Certainly the cost of living in Raleigh is different than the cost of living in Lenoir County. So the wages are higher in Raleigh. I would say around Kinston, Lenoir County, you're probably starting about, you know, $12, $13 an hour. Up in Raleigh, you're going to see higher wages than that. And you got to start somewhere. This is, you know, we're training people for entry level work. And so you have to kind of pay your dues, so to speak. I've got students, former students, that are making, you know, 6 figures and above, depending on, again, what you get into. This is a high tech area. You know, this is one area where once you get into this field, you have to keep learning, keep adapting. Software changes about every 6 months. Tools change and advance. Technology continues to evolve. And, you know, we need people that are bright and sharp and understand technology. And so the money will come. I tell my students, don't worry about the money when you first get out. The money will come, the demand is there. It just depends on where you want to live and what field you want to get into. We're really training you for probably a dozen different types of jobs. So we're providing a solid foundation for you to go into many areas that are related to the graphics industry.
We have employers now that are constantly calling saying, we need a student. Can you send us a student? You know, do you have somebody that can start work right now? And so the jobs are there. You know, it just takes a connection. So
What do the jobs have to like do?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, the question is some of the different types of jobs. I guess that's, yeah.
So graphic designer, web designer, you can work in the production side, running any of those pieces of equipment that we just looked at. Each one of those pieces of equipment would have an operator on the front of that. You might be in the digital press operator. You could be a wide format operator. Depends on what your interests are. If you're really interested in the creative side, the graphic design studios, people that understand computer graphics software, being able to set up documents, design publications, doing websites. It really depends on, again, what your interests are. You know, there's value in everything that we do. We're not just kind of, you know, teaching whatever we feel like teaching. We're trying to teach to what the industry is looking for.
I have a question.
Okay.
Before COVID had happened, what was a typical day for like the people who were there
So as a student, or are you talking about as an employee?
as a student?
As a student, our classes, because of COVID, we've become very flexible with attendance. But in a normal semester, our students would probably start class about 8:30. 2 days a week, they would stay till about 12 o'clock. And the other 2 days a week, they'd stay till about 3 o'clock. We don't have classes in our programs in our program on Fridays. The college is open, so they do a 4-day work week. Again, like a Monday, Wednesday, I think they're here from 8 to 12, and then Tuesday, Thursday, or 8:30 to 12. Tuesday, Thursday, they're here from 8:30 to, or 10 to 3. So it just depends. And a lot of our classes are blended or hybrid, and we do have some that are online. So some, you know, again, I've seen a handful of students that maybe only came 3 or 4 times this semester. And it may be something that we continue to do if that's what students want, is to run kind of hybrid type classes. So that, you know, you can subscribe to the Adobe software and work on things from home. And then when you're ready to come output, like some of the projects that you saw here, when you're ready to kind of print out your project and do the assembly, you just come in whenever you're ready to do that. But Fridays are open. You know, the labs are open. The facility is always open, so students have the opportunity to come in here and get as much practice as they'd like.
We also teach CCP classes. So we have a certificate for high school students specifically. And so there are 4 classes that you take. You take 2 graphic design classes and 2 photography classes. You don't have to have a camera. You can use your phone's camera. And if you're interested in signing up for those classes, we start those classes in the fall. So if you're interested, contact Mr. Downey and he'll put you in touch with Athena Wilson, who's in charge of our CCP classes.
So what the CCP classes, basically you can earn high school credit and college credit at the same time, and it's free to you. And those 4 classes she's talking about are all online. So you would not have to attend on campus.
And you can do them now while you're in high school.
Yep.
Does your program include animation?
It does include some animation. Yes, we do. That's why I mentioned earlier, there's a new media design class that's being offered starting in the fall. And that class does include animation, including motion graphics using Adobe After Effects.
And, you know, kind of, you know, our approach to animation is really when it comes to advertising, where you see like social media ads that have motion in those things that have a practical application. We're really not doing animation just to do, like, you know, cartoon sequences. That's not what we're doing. Everything that we're doing has a focus on how would it be used in a commercial application.
Does it include like game design and whatnot?
Game designing.
Yeah, so game design is a very popular subject, and we don't get into game design, but in terms of having a foundation to get into something like that, this is kind of, you know, would be a good start. Game design involves a lot of programming and a lot of other software that we just, that's kind of outside of the realm of what we do. I think Wake Tech, and I think Wayne Community College has a game design program. Any other comments or questions?
I think I got hers. Yeah, I got hers. The Imani. I think she asked her question.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate your time and paying attention to what we had to show you. And again, we have lots of opportunities for you guys, and we'd love to have you come and tour the facility, see what we have. I think you would be impressed if you kind of saw it in person, to kind of look at the project, see what's involved with this. But the demand is there, like Dr. Hope mentioned. There's jobs out there that we can't fill because we don't have enough students to come through and graduate. Typical class size is about 15 to 20 first year students, and we end up with about 10 to 15 second year students every year. Because of COVID, we have seen a dip like everybody across the nation has seen in terms of enrollment. We're hoping that with the vaccines out that we're kind of turning the corner on that, where people will feel comfortable enough to come back to campus full time.
We currently have quite a few students
Yeah.
who are, I'm actually in a class right now down the hall. We have 2 computer labs. And so I've got a handful of students that are down the hall working in our Mac lab working.
Yeah,
So,
our first year students come every day. So they're eager to learn. And the second year students, once they get some skills under their belt, they feel comfortable enough to work on their own and being able to just come as needed.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Okay, I think they're good. I'm gonna show them that short little video that
Okay.
that you sent to me that caught my attention. I think that's
Okay.
on a few minutes because that will allow them to see the students actually working,
Yeah.
and
that'd
then the few students that with the testimonials. So thank you so much. This
No
has been
problem.
very
And
informative.
I'll send you the link to this recording. So if you'd like to share it with other students, at least they'll be able to see the lab that way. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I
Y'all
do.
have a good day.
Thank you. All right, you too. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.